Hello and welcome back, artists and designers. We are going to move into our complex shapes here. We're going to learn a couple new techniques and a new tool or two. So I'm actually going to start in the middle here with this, what I call window shape, because this one is really pretty easy. And I'm going to use the rectangle tool. And again, to expedite this, even though I want to have you do two copies, I'm just going to do one to kind of show you how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this out and get it to be about the shape that I want. And I'm going to flip this over and make it a stroke instead of a fill to make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so now that I have this, I could try to make a circle here and do something with it, but I'm going to actually use these corner points here. So once you make a shape, you'll notice that you have these circles in the middle. And if you click on all of them, let's click off of it for a second and go back to the selection tool. If you just click and start dragging, what that does is that rounds all of those corners out, which is a handy little feature to have. So here I get a pill shape, but what I actually want to do is I just want those top two. So I'm going to click one. You'll notice it highlights. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to click the other one. Those two are now selected. The bottom two are not. And I'm going to go ahead and drag that out and I get that nice curve shape. And that's all there is to doing that one right here. So you can curve out one corner, all the corners. It's a really fun thing to be able to do and experiment with that to take a rectangular square shape and round out those corners. So there you go, that's the first one. I'm going to jump back here and let's give the building one a try. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rectangular tool, and again I'm going to make these shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and make the tall rectangle, and I'm just going to overlap these shapes. I'm going to take this one and then I'm going to take another one here. This is probably a little bit bigger than I need, but again, it's the idea. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. So I've got these three separate shapes right now. These are three separate shapes that are overlapping here. One of the things I want to show you is alignment. So I want these all kind of lined up in a center line here. I'm going to specifically make sure that they are not aligned, and then let's see if we can't get these in alignment. So what I have to do is I want to select all these shapes. With my selection tool, I'm going to go ahead and drag over and get all three selected. Then I'm going to go back over to my properties panel, and this is your align window pane here. So I'm going to go ahead, I want to align these up on that center line. So as soon as I click this, it's going to kind of lock those all together. Be careful, because if I click like this one, for example, it's going to push them there. Here it's going to push them over here. This one I'm going to be able to do that. And again, these will be top, bottom, center, depending on what you're going to want to do. And there's even more options down below where you can distribute them evenly and we can move on from there. But I want to center align those. Perfect. But this is still three separate shapes. So I'm going to introduce you to one more tool here. That's this guy right here, and this is the shape builder tool. This is going to allow you to merge separate shapes into one single shape. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and by default it has a little plus symbol. So as I drag over this, and one more note, you have to have the thing selected with the selection tool. So it won't work. If I go over here, it'll tell me I can't use it. So I need to select these things, and I'm going to grab this shape builder tool and I just start dragging, and that starts merging together anything that I drag across, and I can get all of those shapes to merge together, and now I've got one single building stack right there. So I've got that perfectly. I'm going to guess you can figure out how to do this one and this one. We got a couple overlapping triangles, and then we'll do the same thing, shape builder, and we'll merge these two together. So those two should be pretty easy for you. Let's talk about this X shape here. I'm going to go ahead and choose my rectangle tool, and I'm going to take and make a rectangle about the size that I feel like I need for one of these. I'm going to go back up to my selection tool, and I'm going to go just past the corner. You see how that curved arrow pops up, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to start to rotate. It's funny, it didn't want to rotate. It should. There we go. Now it's rotating. If you hold the shift key down while you rotate, it's going to lock this rotation into 45-degree increments. So shift is a helpful little tool for us here. I'm going to rotate it right here. So I have one of these essentially, let's zoom in here for a second. I have one of these essentially the way that I want. So that's going to be about right here. I want the other one. I could try to make another and rotate, but I'm going to show you one more trick. With this created, I'm going to go ahead and right click on this. And when I right click on it, you see a whole bunch of options in here. One of them is transform. And I am going to go to transform and I'm going to reflect this. When I reflect this image, you get a pop-up window here and say, hey, how do you want to reflect this? Well, vertical or horizontal doesn't really matter for this because I think it's going to give us the same option either way in this particular image, but we'll just go with the vertical. And then here's the thing is we don't want to rotate the original, we want to make a copy of that reflection. So I'm going to hit copy and there we go. I now get a duplicate, it lines up perfectly and I can use the same technique. Drag over both of these, go to my shape builder, zip, zip, and I have now made a nice perfect little crisscross there. So I'm going to skip over these two because I think you could figure out how to do them. I bet you could figure out how to do this. I'll tell you circle, triangle, make sure they overlap, merge those together, and you can get that working. This one, it looks like we're going to need maybe 2 circles, and then we're going to need the star symbol on here. So let's try this one. I'm going to take 1 circle, and I'm going to go ahead and make that the big circle. So let's go ahead and take that. And I'm going to, I could just leave it as the stroke, but it's not going to look right if I do it up here. So I'm going to go ahead and make another one, holding shift, okay, and I'm going to make it about the size that I want. So let's take these two, let's move them down here, and I can tell that the centers are a little bit off. If you look closely here, you can see those aren't quite off. Well, good opportunity to align again. Align that way, and align this way, and those are going to lock up together. All right. Now the problem is I want this part filled in and I want the middle hollow. So I'm going to go ahead and take both of these and I'm going to flip those over to a fill just to demonstrate what happens. This will work regardless, but I'm going to show you here. Let's make the middle one a different color just so that you can see. Let's make this like an orange. So now I've got a center circle that's orange and a bigger circle behind it that is blue. Put that back. So I'm going to select both now, and I'm going to use my shape builder again. But this time, instead of merging these two together, I'm going to hold the Alt key down on the keyboard, and you'll notice that cursor changes from a plus to a minus when I hold that down. And as soon as I click on this, it's going to chop that part out and leave me with the outer edge. And I don't even have to click on that there. I now, if I drag this up, I have a donut type circle. So I've got that donut circle right there, and I could simply put that star inside of it, and then I could merge those two together as well. Okay. Here, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. I'm going to leave this one up to you, but I think we're going to have to use all of our techniques here. We're going to have to use a rectangle. We'll probably have to round the corners. We'll have to create some sort of circle like this. We'll have to punch part of it out if we want to fill here and a fill here and nothing here. So I'm going to let you see if you can't figure out how to do this one and finish up the last few of these on this page on your own. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.